a lot of people talk about this retirement crisis that the UK and the US are in. What is the retirement crisis, and why does it matter to any of us, and what do we do about it?
This is a multifaceted issue. The first issue is we have this huge population of old people, baby boomers, that are retired or entering retirement, that have not enough money. This is not just the US, this is also the UK, like you said, which creates a few issues. Number one, who's going to take care of them? Number two, who's going to fund that taking care of them? The government doesn't have that money. And the people that are going into retirement don't have that money. And their kids many times don't have that money. That's the first issue. And now as we start to dig into that, we have people that are working longer, and it creates now this problem in the future that we can see today. If you're in your 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, teens, you can see that there's this problem that's happening. How do we prevent that today? Because I don't know what the solution is for this retirement crisis. I don't have a solution for that.
The average retirement savings for Americans age 60 is roughly $500,000, and the average age of death in the US is 77 years old. So if you retire at 67 years old, which is the average age of retirement in the United States, then for the next 10 years, you're going to have to live off about $50,000. And the stats say that, well, I actually got this from your YouTube channel, the Minority Mindset YouTube channel, said that the average American needs between $1 to $2 million to retire comfortably.
According to USA Today, we need about $1.8 million to retire comfortably.
Wow.
And the reason why is every year we have inflation. So if you live off of $50,000 this year, you're going to need maybe $52,000, $53,000, $54,000 next year, more the year after that, more the year after that. And $50,000 doesn't buy you what it did 30 years ago. And so now when we take a look at all these issues happening, the question is, what do you do today to prevent these issues in the future? And starting with, in the United States, we have what's called Social Security, which is a government check that you get when you retire. The first problem with Social Security, because Social Security is drying up, this is a fact, that if you read the headlines, they'll say Social Security is going to be dry by 2034, if nothing changes. The problem is people are paying money in, but the government is paying out more than what's going in. So from any business perspective, if you have more cash outflows than cash inflows, you have a problem. And the reason for that is, well, number one, the math was wrong. And number two, people are living longer. So when the government keeps paying your Social Security check longer and longer and longer because people are living longer, life expectancy is getting higher, that means they have to keep paying. That's not good for the government. Now, on the plane ride here to LA, I sat next to somebody who was telling me, I didn't verify this, but he told me that the government knew that this was going to be a problem from the get-go because he told me that the first recipient of the Social Security program lived to 100. I don't know if that's true or not, but you can Google that to see. But that's the problem right now. Social Security is running out of money. And this is where everyone says Social Security is going to run dry. You're never going to get a Social Security check. That's not true either. The reason why I say that is because the government won't let it fail. They'll either raise your taxes or they'll just print that money. But the problem with it is you will never be able to live comfortably off of Social Security. That was never the intention, but many people are looking at it as, I'm going to be able to live comfortably from this government check. But here's the problem. Let's take a look at what's happening today. Between 2024 to 2025, Social Security recipients are going to receive a 2.5% raise for inflation. What they're saying is we have this inflation in 2024. And because of this inflation in 2024, you're going to get a 2.5% raise. There's two problems with that. Number one, that raise is not enough. Things are getting a lot more expensive. Even though the rate of inflation is falling, I mean, A 2.5% raise is not going to keep up with the real cost of living growth that most people feel. The second problem is it's a delayed raise. The government gives you a raise in 2025 based off of the inflation you had in 2024. So we already had this price growth, and then you get the raise next year. And guess what? We're going to have more inflation in 2025. So relying on Social Security is a losing proposition, which brings the next part of this three-legged stool. So you have Social Security, then you have pensions. Pensions have become a thing of the past. I mean, if you're under the age of 45, chances are you're not getting a pension. And even if you're over the age of 45 and you're promised a pension, you better cross your fingers to hope that that pension fund does not go bankrupt, because there have been many pension funds that have gone bankrupt and people are then left with nothing. Which leaves number 3, your own savings and investments. And this is where we have so much a lack of understanding, because people are not doing enough. This goes back to the whole financial education. We make money to spend money. That's what the American culture is. I make $1,000, I'm going to spend $1,000, maybe $1,200. But you're never going to be able to retire with that sort of mindset. And here's the second problem with that. I'm just going to lay the problem so we'll come up with a solution. You might say, well, I need a financial advisor. No good financial advisor nowadays wants to work with anybody under $500,000 in assets. Maybe $250,000 in assets. Maybe, if you get lucky, $100,000 in assets. But if you have under that, they don't want to work with you because they want people that have some money to actually make money off of, right? The financial advisor's got to eat too. So if you don't have the investments, you don't have the education, now you're stuck. And this is where now your financial education comes in. Because if you want to build wealth, you want to have quote unquote retirement, you got to do something different. You can't keep doing what the majority of people do, because if you keep doing what the majority of people do, you're going to end up like the majority of people. And right now, that's broke, in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, fat, and unhappy. And I'm not saying this as a general term. I mean, statistically, that's what the majority of people are, especially in America. So now let's come up with a solution, because we have laid out the problem. The first solution is define what is retirement, because I'm going to get a little philosophical here, but I have my issues with traditional retirement. There's a saying that says those who retire early die early. And the reason why is because if you work from the age of 21 to 65, maybe 67, at a job you hate, but you work every single day, and all you're looking forward to is retire at 67. You retire at 67, you have this great big retirement party. Now you come home, and you sit on the sofa and you start watching TV. You start to lose your sense of purpose. And I've seen this very closely with people in not my family, but close to my family, where I've seen people who were healthy, energetic, maybe didn't love their work, but they had a reason to get up every day, go to work, retire, and literally go insane. I mean, you have nothing to do, and now you start to see health issues that you didn't have before. You start to have mental health issues, which you didn't have before, and all these things just start to happen when you were going to enter your golden years, even if you have the money to do things. So when we talk about what is retirement, I want to caution everybody, or if you have parents, to start thinking about what do you want to do during retirement? Because if your goal is to do nothing, you might enjoy it for the first few weeks, maybe 6 months, but eventually you're going to get bored. So you got to have something to do. Then it's the financial side of retirement. What is retirement? And I have a different definition than most people. Most financial advisors don't like me for the things that I say. But my definition of retirement is the same as my definition of wealth. Wealth is, for me, when my cash flow from my investments exceeds my expenses. It's very simple. If my expenses are $4,000 a month and my cash flow from my stocks and my real estate and everything else is paying me $4,001 a month, I am wealthy. So now the question is, how do you actually achieve this type of wealth, retirement? the reason why I don't like the word retirement as well, besides the connotation of I'm going to do nothing, is they assume I got to be 67 years old to hit this retirement, when you can achieve this wealth way sooner. And now you have more options. So retirement is wealth. Wealth is when your cash flow from your assets exceeds your expenses. How do you actually do this now? Well, you got to buy the assets. And in order to do that, you have to have the money. And many people assume that the way you get rich is by investing for passive income. You get rich by investing in real estate. You get rich by buying this cash flow. That's a lie. You have to have the money first. You have to have the money to invest in real estate. You have to have the money to buy the cash flow. So if we just make the numbers very round and simple, if I need $70,000 a year to live my life, and I can get a 7% cash flow on my investments, I need to invest $1 million to have that $70,000 a year to fund my lifestyle. Now you're going to say, where in the world are you going to get $1 million? You don't need it today. It can happen over time. Right? When people talk about retirement planning, they're thinking about 45 years. So when we talk about wealth, why can't we talk about the long term? It's not going to happen in 2 days, but it can happen if you put in that work. So now, you have to put aside this amount of cash to buy certain investments that can pay you this type of cash flow. The second thing is, well, what about inflation, Jaspreet? You talk about this all the time. The buying power of my dollar is going down. $70,000 when I'm 65 years old in a few decades is not going to have the same buying power as today. You're right. But here's the thing. When you invest your money into dividend-paying stocks, which are stocks that pay you, or into strong real estate, these are inflation-adjusted investments, which means generally, as inflation happens, rental prices go up. As inflation happens, stock values and dividends also go up. And this is where now, if we start to understand this, you'll understand the power of this, because it's actually a little bit more extreme. We've probably heard about, the wealth gap in America and how the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. Well, the reason why that happens is because investment values grow faster than incomes. And inflation benefits investors. So you see how we start to tie this all together, because wealth is about owning investments. The way you become wealthy is by owning investments. Our economic system is designed to benefit investors. If we take a look at 2019 to 2024, over those 5 years, household incomes, the median household income grew by around 18%. During those 5 years, the S&P 500, the stock market, has grown by almost 100%, which means that the wealth for investors has grown almost 5 times, or about 5 times faster than incomes. This is why you can't earn your way to wealth. You can't save your way to wealth. You have to invest your way to wealth. And remember, wealth is retirement. And you might say, well, Jaspreet, that's just because of the pandemic and everything that happened after the pandemic. Well, let's go back in time. Let's look at it a little bit broader. Let's look at the 5 decades between 1971 and 2021. Over those 5 decades, household income increased by around 600%. Now, mind you, that between 1971 and 2021, we also saw the number of workers in a household increase. In 1971, the average household had one person that went to work. The man went to work and the woman didn't. That's how life was in the early 1970s. In 2021, many households are 2 household incomes. So 1971 to 2021, the median household income grew by around 600%. The S&P 500, the largest 500 companies in the stock market, grew by around 4,000%. So again, inflation happens. Inflation benefits the investor. How do you become wealthy? It's by investing your money. So if you want to retire, If you want to build wealth, you have to be an investor. And you have to calculate what is that wealth number for you. For me, the way that I do it is I do it through cash flow. Most of my investments, my real estate investments, pay me cash flow. When I buy a property, I buy it for the cash flow. Most of my stock market investments are dividend-paying assets, meaning they pay me cash flow, dividends, just for owning the stock. Some of my investments grow in value. They're more appreciative, they're for appreciation. But when I think about retirement for me, it's cash flow exceeding my expenses.
What about starting a company? Should people become entrepreneurs?
Well, I think everybody in America needs to be a business owner, but the majority of people should not operate a business. When you invest in a stock, you become a business owner. You don't operate the business. If I go out and buy a share of Amazon, I'm not working in the company, I'm not operating the company, but I own some of it. Some people should start a business. I'm a huge advocate for entrepreneurship for the right person.
Who's the right person?
I used to think everybody needs to become an entrepreneur. Because when I started to see success as an entrepreneur, I crossed that invisible barrier. I said, oh my God, people need to see this. You have to become an entrepreneur. You can do things on your own. And I was preaching this to my friends. I got one friend of mine who was an engineer to quit his job and to then join me. He would come to my office and I would talk to him about things. And I said, different ways you can do this. And I realized pretty quickly, he is not meant to be an entrepreneur. The work ethic was different. When he would go home, he didn't want to work. And that did not click to me. What do you mean you don't want to work after 5 o'clock? Like there's no stop point. When you're starting a business, you got to start. The second thing was the way you think about risk. It's, if I invest $100, how fast I'm going to make the money back? Am I going to make this money back? It became all these little analyses before you've even done anything. You got to start. And then it's the innovation of what are you going to do? It's asking for a blueprint. Tell me exactly what to do. Tell me exactly what to sell. Tell me exactly how to sell it. I don't know what you are good at. I don't know what problem you can solve. I don't know what innovation you can create. And this is where I go back to, I am a big advocate for entrepreneurship for the right person. Who is that right person? Somebody who has this entrepreneurial itch, that you have this I need to create something. This I can't work for somebody else feeling. This I want to build something. It's a very much I don't care what it takes. I don't care what I have to do. This is what is my calling.
And as you say there, you're going to have to tolerate uncertainty. And when I say uncertainty, I mean comfort as well. The lack of a blueprint, the lack of certainty about how much you're going to make this month or how quickly you're going to make money or if you're going to make money. Risk, which is you might have to put a lot of things on the line, including your reputation. And you said hard work as well. So are you willing to work 7 days a week? And you're right, when people say that, they think it's super toxic. But in my own experiences of starting businesses, but then on every friend that I have that started a business, they'll all tell you that there's absolutely no such thing as 9 to 5. You work whenever you have to work. And if you're at a bar mitzvah or a wedding or an anniversary meal with your partner, at any moment, you might get a horrible email and you have to act upon it. You can't say, I'm going to save that till Monday. Or not my problem.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to add one more to that list. The willingness to be criticized.
Oh, yeah.
Any business you start, you are going to upset a lot of people at every stage of the business.
I mean, this is really important because much of the reason why people want to be entrepreneurs is because they want to be their own boss. But what's so interesting about the story you told about that tenant is you became her boss. If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.